I wanted to ask about the migrant camps. What can Congress do, and what are you personally in favor of to get that issue out from under this sort of stalemate it seems to be in?
Well, we had a vote right before the break, which was the Humanitarian Standards at the Border Act, which, again, in my opinion, very serious measure that was put together by Congressman Raul Ruiz, who's an emergency room physician and has a district close to the California border, has been down there a number of times. And it basically dealt with sort of immediate upfront issues in terms of the mishandling of what's going on there at the border in terms of setting some basic sanitary healthcare and humanitarian standards in terms of just how people are, separated from their families, once they're in detention areas there. And, the stories of, parents having to communicate with their kids through barbed wire or fences, it's just, and I've heard that from people who are down there, it's just, that's not the right way to be handling people in that situation. Again, Raul worked with the Border Patrol and ICE in terms of designing this bill because, they acknowledge that, this situation is something that they really had not sort of planned for appropriately. And it probably will be one of Mitch McConnell's Grim Reaper, as he calls himself, bills from the House out of another 190 or so. But, to me, that is just a basic response to what is happening down there and would put our country at least at the level of the Geneva, conventions in terms of how you, treat people that are in your custody. To me, the fundamental issue that is missing down there is just that the asylum process, because of, clumsy, in many cases, unlawful tampering and interference from the administration has really broken down. And so you've got this massive backlog of cases that are piling up there. And there's been almost no attempt. The border funding bill that we voted on 2 or 3 weeks ago was going to boost some, personnel down there to be handling these cases. To me, it should be an all hands on deck. They should, there's administrative judges that you can move from other agencies to go down there. I mean, this is not rocket science law, and that people can get sort of brought in to help with the backlog that's down there. Ted Cruz, by the way, supports that approach that the asylum process, because of the surge that's happening from these three countries, has to get a surge of administrative personnel to respond to it. The batting average that people have of winning asylum cases is actually low. I mean, it's just, you don't just come across and say, I'm asking for asylum and you're in like Flint. I mean, you've actually got to demonstrate a situation that justifies that asylum request. So, this is not open borders. This is not, saying we're just going to, rubber stamp admission into the country, willy-nilly. But we would reestablish what I think are lawful processes that we're obligated to enforce by international law as well as by our own laws. And obviously there's a even higher level of change that we need to have, which is to have comprehensive immigration reform. And this administration has absolutely no interest in engaging in that. Lindsey Graham can't get anywhere, and certainly Nancy Pelosi is not going to get anywhere. We did pass a Dreamers bill. That was H.R. 6, the American Dream and Promise Act, which would, again, just once and for all codify the legal status of these kids. That the vast majority of the country agrees, should not get deported when they're going back to countries they don't even know. And again, you can't even use that as like anything to bargain or negotiate with the administration. It's like, okay, you don't want us to just do that, on its own. Tell us what you want, and so we can get that done. I mean, it's just nothing's happening. He wants an issue. I mean, I believe that he wants the issue, and until we get sort of past that, you're just not going to get a process that's going to result in smart reforms.